I have learned some basic fishing tactics from my buddy Emmanuel that I plan to use in the 10,000 Islands. Now I'm loading up my Sea-Doo with all the gear I need to camp for a few days. The plan? To explore the islands and get as far away from the beaten path as possible. My first stop? Well, that's 35 nautical miles away. This is gonna be an adventure. My intention on this trip was to spend the entire thing alone, secluded. But while whipping around the islands, I spotted a group of guys on Sea-Doos. So I decided I would go up and ask them for a couple possible fishing spots. But this guy Avi started giving me history lessons, and I was so intrigued that I followed him to this island he wanted to show me.
Not too many animals. We can see raccoons in here, bobcats. This is actually bobcat dropping, and you can see a little bit of hair. And that's telling me is raccoons. Yeah.
Avi was an absolute fountain of information, especially about how the Calusa Native Americans transformed these islands.
Actually, the Calusa Indians used to harvest oysters all the way from down to Shark Valley and the 10,000 Islands, and went all the way up to San Abel Captiva, which back then used to be the big city of the Calusa Indians.
So let me get this straight. You've got an island, and the problem with it is because of how low it is, it's always flooding every time there's a hurricane or a high tide. Mm-hmm. So in order to keep this their home, they went and harvested a bunch of shells, piece by piece, and brought them. And you're telling me that these hills are made out of just one bucket at a time shells?
One bucket at a time. This specific
How long
island,
did that take?
That specific island called Dismal Key, and this island alone took 550 years to build, and a tribe that's the lifespan was 35 years of age.
Jeez. Imagine getting sold that bill of goods when you're like 10 years old. You're like, hey, your great grandkids, as long as, you know, that girl over there finds you attractive.
Exactly.
You know, you are going to be able to benefit from this.
Yep.
So they would just deal with the floods all the time.
Deal with the floods. They used to harvest and muster this area.
After the Calusa Native Americans left this island, other people made it their home.
This is a hut found on one of the islands, and it's proof that people have lived here. So it looks like it was built out of limestone, maybe some concrete. But this is one of the last huts. This guy was in here till, was it 1992?
Yes.
I'm gonna go with the hammocks for tonight, but this is a cool shelter to at least see just the work put in. You really don't need that much to survive. We feel like we do with cities nowadays, but you really don't. They didn't think to put a door?
Yeah, right? There was probably some kind of a way in and out. I bet, a stairway.
The next island Avi took me to was very difficult to get to, and turns out there was a reason for it.
12 years ago, I was looking for ancient Indian mound. I was a researcher after them, and one day I was sitting in this small creek. I look up, and I found this wonderful boardwalk. So,
Avi, I'm in a tree. This is not a boardwalk.
Let's go ahead and follow it and see what is coming up.
In my background research before the trip, I found out that the 10,000 Islands were real popular with drug smugglers because it was a great place to hide.
They picked these spots, super remote, out of the way of everything, in order to not be detected by the authorities. But this hut back here has been abandoned for many, many years. At least I hope.
It's been a long time since drug smugglers were using this hut, but this area just has such an eerie feeling to it still.
Everything that took place here, and it's like as if people got up and walked away and just left certain parts of it. To think, I mean, the people that were here, some bad actors, obviously. Screen roof, screen sidings, they had a screen door even, and they were just here cooking, eating. It's a good hiding place. I'm not getting vibes like I want to stay the night out here, though. I think I'm gonna pick a different island, but this is neat to see just all the history that's here, and people get up and walk away. Makes you wonder too, like when we look at the pyramids or artifacts and stuff like that, when they look at all these ancient sites that they dig up and they find like pottery bowls and things like that, makes you wonder what we found of them and what they would find of us now. People in 200 years find this and be like, well, it looks like they, you know.
That would last forever.
Yeah, the sink looks new.
Yeah, it would last forever. It was
It will bless every animal on the planet, that piece of steel.
How long do you think it took that propane tank to get knocked out that way?
I think 30, 40 years minimum.
With very little life on these islands, the life that can survive has really had to adapt. For instance, the mangroves filter out the salt water they're surrounded by.
This is a mangrove, like the trees that we've been seeing everywhere. And these bumps, they look like blisters. These are actually, this is salt. So this is expelling salt through these bumps to get rid of it out of the tree, so it's not killing it with so much salt. Now, the green leaves that you see won't have any salt in them. They'll be just fresh water. But you'll always spot like one random yellow leaf that looks like it's like burned up, charred up. That yellow leaf is how it's getting rid of the other 20% of the salt. That one will fall off and a new yellow leaf will come to it. But it's interesting that mangroves don't have like a spring, fall, season, so they don't go through like color change or anything. It's if you see a yellow leaf, that's it getting rid of the salt.